Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Today we're back on the 67 crew cab. I have a lot of more holes to finish up. Unfortunately, I have some more stuff to take care of on the back of the cab, and we have some rust on the roof we're going to take care of as well. So let's go get after it. All right, guys, on the 67, last time you guys saw it, I was filling all kinds of holes on the bottom side of this cab. Over 70, I have the count right now. I have most of them taken care of, fortunately, that I can get to. There's a few that I can't get to very easily from the bottom side. We have some here. I have one here I still need to take care of. I was going to do it from the top. And just a few more, like right there. It's going to be easier to get that one from the top. So what my plan is now, I'm going to get the cab off of the lift. I'm going to get on my pallet here. This is actually the pallet that the Sandblaster guys made for me when they painted the Ultimate Crew Cab back there. So this thing is great. They let me take it home, and I'm going to use it to haul this one back up there to them when I get it ready to get blasted and primed. But for the meantime, I'm going to use it to get it off the lift because these crew cabs like to be forked from the back. Just the way the cab is, and this floor here, I like to keep the forks off of this floor on the front because you can dent them in. So I like to pick it in from the bottom and get the front of the forks under that cross member there. So the cab's on there the wrong way to do that. So I'm going to get it on this pallet here, take it outside, spin it around, pick it up on the forklift without the pallet, and then I'm going to steam clean the underside to get all that grease and grime out of there. This stuff right here, I've scraped most of it off. I'm hoping that the steam cleaner can take the rest of it off so it can get all cleaned off before it take it to get media blasted. And then we have some cracks right here in the back of the cab I got to fix on both sides, as well as there's some rot on the roof we're going to take care of. So I guess for now it is to get this cab off the lift and get it spun around, and then we'll clean the bottom side of it and see how it cleans up. Well, guys, we're back in the shop with the 67 cab here. I'm getting ready to do some finish up work on it after I had just cleaned the bottom of the cab, and that was actually quite a while ago, several weeks ago. We just got finished up working our cabs. We finally got done. It took us a long time this year. We've had a rough go of it. with all the weather we've been having and delays with rain and muddy conditions, and just took us a lot longer than normal. But finally we got done, so I'm having some time back in the shop and I get working on some projects again. And the cab, I went out and steam cleaned the bottom side, as you guys just saw. It turned out really nice. I didn't get 100% of it off, but I think it'll be good enough to blast that stuff off whenever they get it. We'll see how it turns out. But it turned out pretty good, I think, for what you could expect. If you remember, all of this was all covered in grease, and now it's all nice and clean. So way cleaner than it was before, which is good. That was kind of my goal. And up here on the roof, right here, is the spot I have to patch. So just a little bitty spot right there. And it looks like that was actually a hole that they tried to weld up. So I don't know if it was just a rust hole or if it was just a hole in general, because we have spots that I found all around the cab here that looks like they had something screwed in there and they just cut the screws off or something. But those are high spots, so I'm going to grind those down. And if there is a hole there, we'll have to weld those up. And there's a spot right there. So I don't even think that's rust. I think it's just they were either welding or something and blew through it there, and that's kind of just goobered in to make that fill up. So that makes me feel really good about the rest of the roof. You know, I was kind of worried, well, if we have rust here, what's it going to look like everywhere else? And that's why I blew the paint off all along here, trying to find other signs of rust or body fill along that seam there so I could patch it before we get it blasted. But I think we're good to go there. So that's not going to take long at all. And since that's not rust, I might just see if I can weld that up versus cutting it out. We'll just see how it goes. I'm going to look up underneath there with an inspection camera and see if I see rust up in here. But we'll see how that goes once we get that far. Another big thing I got to do is these giant speaker holes in there. So those are going to be fun. And the spots in the back of the cab, I definitely want to do those. So I'm going to get after it, and hopefully I can get this thing to the blaster. Hopefully by the end of this week. We'll see how things go and how fast I work. And then once I get this thing to the blaster, we're going to get back on the Ultimate Crew Cab, which is hiding over there. We had it pushed out of the way. We had to work on some stuff up in the ceiling, so I had it pushed out of the way. So I'm going to get after it and see if we can get all these holes, the rest of the holes taken care of this thing, and finish stripping it out. And we'll get it to the blaster. So let's go get after it. All right, guys. Well, I've been hard at it here on the crew cab, the inside of the crew cab anyway. Just getting stuff just cleaned up and getting it ready to get to the blaster. And still patching holes, and I'm still finding holes. This is these holes that were right here. This went right there. Just cut out a little patch piece and cleaned that up, and then found some more holes I had to patch. And I'm doing stuff like up here. They had something, maybe a grab handle or something, filling those holes. And there's a hole here, filling. And there's some more over there that I found that I didn't find before. Over here, we have these holes I knew about. I knew about that one. But then right here, there was this self-tapping screw that was screwed in there with a bit of carpet hooked to it. So I think that is an indication of where all these holes came from. I think at some point, someone put carpet in here and it wasn't really laying flat. So they just put little self-tappers in there to screw the carpet down to all fit the contours of the floors. So still working at it. I did pick up, they did try to seal up the holes with some silicone, whoever put carpet in the thing last. I peeled up a piece of silicone there and there was a hole there, so I still have that to fill. And then over here we have some that are like on the other side. And these big holes here, I don't have enough sheet metal to do that, flat sheet metal, so I have to go buy some more. I don't know if I would like to do that before it gets to the blaster, but it's kind of, it doesn't matter. Either way, I'm going to be spraying epoxy once I sand this thing down anyway, so I can patch those and spray epoxy, unseal that stuff up at any time, really. So same thing with the bottom of the doors, the great big hole that's down here. I'm kind of like over it at this point, and I want to get this thing to the blaster. So we'll see how far I get along. And might be doing that when I'm going to yank the doors off and do the body work off the door, do the majority of the body work with the doors off anyway. So I'll probably do that at that point. Like I said, it's not a big deal because I'm going to be spraying epoxy. I actually did get some high build epoxy for when I'm doing the blocking after I do the body work, and I start doing I'll do a prime or epoxy over all of it to seal it all up. But it's high build epoxy, and I can block it down. So on my Ultimate Crew Cab, I did epoxy, and then I did a high build polyurethane primer, I think. No, I don't know. I did a high build primer on top of the epoxy and blocked that down. And this just saves a step. It's just high build epoxy. So I'll be spraying that. And then spots up here, I definitely want to do this before it goes to the blaster. See up right here, all of this would have been seam sealed, and see how it's all cracking and ugly. So instead of just like painting over that or sealing over that, I want to dig all the old out and get that exposed, so when they blast it, they can blast any surface rust or anything off of that, and then seal it up with the epoxy, and then I'll go over the epoxy with new seam sealer. So definitely going to do that before it goes to the blaster. I made that mistake with the Ultimate Crew Cab. I dug it out afterwards, and then it was all bare metal, and I had to seal it up again, and then it just added steps to it. So this seam goes all the way around, and then all in the seams and the doors. You see it here, back here, there's a lot of it, and it goes all the way around the cab on this extra drip rail that they had on these crew cabs. So just lots of stuff like that you have to dig out, and there's some down here on the door jams and just areas like that. Just get it all cleaned out. That's my plan anyway. I did notice one of my subscribers on Instagram, my paid subscribers, was talking to me about a truck they had that had a roof rot issue, like kind of like the crew cabs, but it was a regular cab. And he was asking me about replacing the roof skin, and I haven't ever done that before. But I was looking at the crew cab, or a single cab that I cut up, and looking at how it went together and kind of describing how I would do it. And I've always wondered why they did this extra drip rail back here on the crew cabs. And I think I figured it out when I was looking at that regular cab. If any of you guys have been curious about that as well, why it's different. On a regular cab, the drip rail comes down this and ends right here. And this is just a seam along here where the roof skin meets the back piece. On the regular cabs, there's a pinch weld up in here. It's blind, you can't see it or get to it, but it's a pinch weld on the inside. And I think they did the back skin and the roof and then mated that to the rest of the cab. So it was, since that pinch weld is back up in here, because there's this inner piece right here, you can't get to it. And I think on the crew cabs, the roof is so big, they did it in two different pieces just so it was easier to handle. And that's why they did this drip rail all along here, so the roof skin can be pinch welded all on here. So if you can see it up in here, the pinch weld, where it goes along there, that's where the roof skin is pinched together. But anyway, just thought that was cool. I thought I'd share it with you guys. I'm going to get knocking out the rest of those holes. And while I'm back here, I remembered I still have to weld up this crack back here. But we're making a mess grinding off all of that body fill. So I'm going to pull this thing out of the shop and do that. But we're getting closer. And hopefully before too long, I'm going to be taking this thing to the blaster. So I'm going to go get after it. So I was going to put the camera down and just pick back up when we finally got this thing to the blaster, but I wanted to show you guys this, so I turned the camera back on. I'm working on the seam sealer in the hard to get places under the roof here and in the door jams. And if you can see here, I have cleaned all this up with the wire wheel, just a wire wheel on a angle grinder, and cleaned it up all along here and all along here. But here I was chipping away, it was loose, and I was just chipping away at it with a screwdriver, so I could, whenever you do it that way, it usually gets all of it out, and whenever you do it with a grinder, it usually leaves a little bit kind of stuffed up in there where the wire can't get. So the loose stuff I like to pick out with a screwdriver, and you can see here, let me get the light here where you can see it better. See how rusty that is under that? So that's what I was talking about, that if I left that on there, left this on there before I took it to blasting, all of this, when I peeled it off afterwards to replace it, it would just be rusty like this, and I'd have to deal with that. So this is what I was talking about, that the blaster is going to clean all this off to bare metal and then epoxy all this, and then it will be ready to seal up. The only downside to this is you have to remember where all the seam sealer goes and stuff. You know, typically you think, well, I'll just look at this and think, yeah, that's where it goes. But there's so many spots on this thing where there's seam sealer, you kind of got to, you know, keep it in your mind. Like down here, all of this stuff gets kind of tricky, and all the way up in here, and all of this down here. And the step well here is seam sealed along here. So there's all these little bitty spots that need it. So that is one downside to doing it before a long time before you need to seal it up, because you just forget where all the places are. But I think I did a pretty good job on my crew cab, my ultimate crew cab, of remembering all those spots. So I'm pretty confident I can do it here, and you can see it here as well. The all the rust that's under the old seam sealer that was all cracked up and popped out easy. Now usually when it's not cracked and in there good, it's usually not rusty underneath it, but majority of the places it's pretty cracked up. And if you can see here on this spot, see that line of rust. Now this is under your door seal, so you're not going to see it, but there was some rust coming down and going over that paint that they painted on here. So there was some either moisture or just, just the rust in general is causing a discoloration running down there. So just something to keep in mind if you're doing one of these trucks and you want to make sure you get all these spots taken care of. I recommend, especially if you're getting it blasted and primed, to do this before you take it blasting, or if you're just stripping it down and going to prime and start your body work, to do this kind of during your strip down phase. And I think it'll benefit you in the end. So anyway, I'm going to finish doing this. I decided to leave the doors, that hole in the bottom of the doors, until I take it to blasting. I'm not sure about those speaker holes. We'll see if I have time to do those before I really want to take it up there or not. Okay, got the roof all finished up. All it took was a little bit of welding. Got those holes all filled up. There was no corrosion up underneath here that I could see, other than, just surface rust. No major pitting is what I was after. Making sure the metal isn't thin here, but it welded up really nice. It was nice and thick metal. So I think that hole there was just from whoever did the body work on this previously was blowing through with their welder and just put body fill over the top of it. So that's good that it's not rust. So I'm pretty confident this roof is super solid. Another good indication of that is I got all the seam sealer dug out, and it is just really nice and clean up there. Let me show you the back. And sometimes that seam sealer is kind of tricky to get out, but luckily this one was kind of cracked up and really loose, so I could just get a screwdriver in there and start popping it up, and got it all out. So right here, ran a wire wheel on a angle grinder up in here and got it all cleaned out, and it is really nice and clean. You can see just how nice and clean those pinch welds are. Usually this is all rusted up and you can't even see the spot welds. So the pinch welds turned out really nice, the drip rails. So this roof is super solid for a crew cab roof. Really excited about that. You can also see up in here, I ground out as much of the old seam sealer as I could all along here, and also like all down the doors and everything, just trying to get it all cleaned out so I can apply new once we get it back from blasting. Also got the back of the cab welded up. This is kind of the same scenario as up there on the roof. The previous guy was trying to weld up a crack where these things like the crack in the back of the cab, and kept blowing through it and had big holes and just made a mess and just like popcorn welded it. And I ground all that off, and then I was left with a bunch of big holes, but I was able to put a backer on it, a copper backer, and welded those holes up and then ground it all smooth. So hopefully we fixed all that. Also the pinch welds here, or the spot welds, they were cracking and busting loose, and this was actually pulled apart here. So I actually took my spot weld cutter and cut them out, and then pinched it back together and welded them back up so that the back of the cab is all nice and tight again. So getting a lot closer to getting it to the blaster. I did some digging here on the door, and the same story. This thing had a bunch of different mirrors on it at one point apparently, and same thing. The welds were kind of poorly done and missed some holes and had some body fill oozing through the holes through the door. So I'm going to end up digging those out and filling in those holes, just because I like it to be all, all metal and not have any holes where the body fillers going through the door there. So a little bit of welding there to do, and also have to do the speaker holes yet. I got some sheet metal to do these, and luckily I found some pieces that were 8 inches wide exactly. So it's going to be as easy as cutting it here and then cutting a few spot welds here. And we're just going to be doing the putting that piece of metal in there and spot welding it back in, and then we just have the top and the bottom to weld up, and that should be good to go. So those spot welds will be covered up by the door seals. So yeah, getting right along. I think we're going to knock out those speaker holes, and then we're going to get ready to take it to the blaster. So I'm leaving the bottoms of the doors just because I'm going to do those when the doors are off, and I'm just going to leave them on here for easy transport to the blaster. And then once we get it back, I'll yank the doors off and do the bottom of the doors and then start body work and everything. So that's pretty far down the road. For now, I'm going to get those speaker holes knocked out, and then we'll get it loaded on the trailer. Well, I've been working on these speaker holes. I have this one almost ready to start patching, and I have that one already done. Here's the what we cut out of there. You can see these spot welds there where I cut. So there was just 3 on each side. And yeah, pretty nice and simple since we have just those spot welds on this. It's really easy. It's one of the easier panels to replace. So I am flanging it here just to give it a little bit of strength and to make it easier to just weld everything up. But once I get that done, I mean, it just goes right there. I punch some holes in it and I spot weld it. Let me go show you how this side over here turned out. So yeah, there's the finished result. There is a little bit of cleanup left to do. I'm going to try to get that as close to finished before we go to blasting, so the epoxy layer, I don't have to grind that off. So one more thing I'm not sure what I'm going to do with is the radio hole here. Unfortunately, somebody hacked away the tabs right here that the factory radio attaches to, so they've been hacked off and they're gone. And I got a NOS 67 radio bezel, which for one, they're really hard to find in good shape. Nobody reproduces them. And I found an NOS one, but I don't have a good radio. But I can send one off and have it converted and fixed to a digital radio, or I can just put a delete plate in it. Not sure what I'm going to do there. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Should I try to make a radio work, or should I just put a delete plate in it and put like a hidden Bluetooth radio in it or something of that nature? So that's kind of things I'm still up in the air about with all this. But I guess we'll decide that at a later date. That's not as critical on the epoxy deal because, for one, it's hidden, and two, it's we're not going to be putting layers of body fill and stuff on top of it. So I mean, I would epoxy it obviously before we paint it, but you know, it's not as having a good base. You know, since we're not doing body work on top of that area there, I'm not as worried about that. So I don't know if that's sound thought process or not. I guess we will find out. But I'm gonna get the that side knocked out. It's really very easy as far as patch panels go, and then pretty much just all the little things you don't think about you have to strip down. I'm gonna strip all that stuff down, like all this wiring harness. I still have to get the wiper assembly out. I gotta get the ashtray box out, and just stuff like that. You know, the parking brake and the vent here, and you know, just the plugs there for the seatbelt plugs. You know, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna get out of it before we take it to sandblasting. All that stuff takes a little bit of time, but it's not too bad. Hopefully, I'm gonna get this thing to the blaster this week or next week. I'm kind of busy with some other stuff that I can't work full-time on this truck, unfortunately. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to try to bring you guys along. So hopefully the next time you see me, we're going to be taking this thing to the blaster. Hey guys, well, I got the cab off of my little cart here. It's out there on the trailer. We'll go check that out in a second, but I wanted to show you guys this right here. Now this is what I thought was the one good fender off of our front clip on this truck, and just thought I better check it out before I take it up there to get blasted, because I've gotten some poor results in the past whenever I didn't inspect something close enough and I got it back and it had a lot of rust in it. And I'm glad I did, because the body fill here was hiding quite a bit of rust here in the corner of the fender. And this looked perfectly fine when you just looked at it. But I thought I better grind it down to metal and see what it looks like before I spend the time and money to have this blasted. And yeah, so we're going to get replacements for both sides. Just not done a deal with that. And since they make replacements, but while I have it here, you can really see the poor quality of the paint job now that it's at a different angle. You can tell the poor coverage of the clear right here and right down here in the corner. They didn't even get clear right there on that corner. So just a lower quality paint job, and doing stuff like this body fill over rust holes is kind of what you have to be careful with when you have something that has a low quality paint job like this. So if you're going to go look at something, just because it looks decent and doesn't have any holes in it, you really need to pay attention. And I even have a paint meter that I bring with me when I go check out stuff like that, and I can put a paint meter on it. And if it's got body fill in it, it'll either won't register at all on the paint meter or register really thick. So just something good to check out. It is kind of a typical Oklahoma day out here. It's pretty windy. I got a new microphone set up that I'm trying out, so hopefully you guys aren't too blown out by the wind and you get a little bit better audio. But here I have the cab ready to go. So it's all loaded up. It's on our pallet that I have set up to transport these cabs. It's actually bolted down through the seat rails and secured to the pallet. It's not just sitting on it. So it works really good for transporting, because these things do like to bounce around. And then I have the doors tied with some bungee cords, just so they don't fly open on me when we start to travel. So for the most part, everything is good enough. The only thing I didn't tackle was there's little spots right here in the door. I think I'm just going to do that whenever I do the bottom of the doors, that big cutout that they have, since I'll have the doors off doing that. But I also got a hood ready to go. This one isn't the one that I originally planned on. It had a big whammy right here. This whole corner was knocked in, and I just cut it out and replaced it with a different piece, because I'm not that great with metalworking. I don't know if that's the best thing to do, but it's what I could do, the best job I could do. So this is actually an F700 hood that was off of a school bus, and then somebody painted it blue. But it is an early hood, so it'll match the 67. It is not a 67 hood, but it's not, at least not a later model hood that has a different metal shape on the inside, or the cutouts are different and everything. So anyway, guys, I want to take this up to blasting tomorrow. I'm running out of time today before they close, and I got some stuff I got to go do. So we're going to take this up there tomorrow. I'm hoping that I can get some footage for you guys as the process is going on, so you can kind of see the steps involved in it. So I'm going to cut that to a different video, because it's been a long time since I've gotten a video out for you guys. So I'm trying to get this one knocked out and get it to you guys. So we're going to cut this one quits. Give me a thumbs up if you like this project on this 67 crew cab. Subscribe if you want to see me build it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.